Hey, what's up? Welcome back to In the Dog Box with Zain the Rottweiler Udemans. Trying something different this morning. Figured I'd do a 2021 wrap up while I'm out, just taking a bit of a stroll. Don't know how this is gonna go, don't know how the video is gonna look. But yeah, trying something new. Let's go, let's get it. I think maybe we start at the end and work back, or start at the end and then go to the beginning. The reason I want to start at the end is because I want to talk about Dillian White and Tyson Fury and the WBC. And maybe I'll just touch on it and then come back to it. But the thing that I want to touch on and say is I don't believe Tyson Fury wants to fight Dillian White or Anthony Joshua. And this is something that my dad actually said when we were speaking. He's like, Tyson Fury wants to fight Usyk, who he is pretty sure he can beat, get the undisputed belt, and then retire undefeated, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. And he's got a history of ducking fights, ducking rematches, and that's exactly what's happening here. Dillian White is the interim champion. Dillian White is the WBC #1 contender. Dillian White should be Tyson Fury's next fight. This whole split debacle is just an excuse for Tyson Fury to avoid the fight. That being said, I do wonder why Dillian White wouldn't just agree to the arbitrary splits, beat Tyson Fury, and then just take it from there. Because, I mean, this is also for a world title that you've been waiting 3 years for. So, I mean, whatever the difference is going to be irrelevant in terms of, like, your entire career and your entire future. Yeah, possibly get back to that. Let's wrap up 2021. It's been an excellent year for boxing. It's been one of the best boxing years in a long time, and I think we definitely have to thank Eddie Hearn for that. The fights that he's put on with Canelo, Teofimo, Joshua, Usyk, it's been an amazing boxing year. And then obviously the Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder trilogy has been like one of the greatest gifts that boxing has given us. So, but I think the start of the year was the Teofimo Lopez upset over Lomachenko. And I'm still not over that. I'm still not over the fact that Lomachenko lost to Teofimo Lopez. And I'm not saying that was a robbery. I'm saying it was a close fight. What I'm most upset about is the fact that Teofimo refused to give Lomachenko the rematch. Turns out Lomachenko went into that fight injured and was not at 100%. And even though he was injured and even though he wasn't at 100%, he still made it a close fight against an amazing boxer. Teofimo is phenomenal. Like, take nothing away from him. He is a phenomenal boxer. And yeah, just the fact that he didn't want to give Lomachenko that rematch didn't sit well with me, and I was very upset about that. I still am quite upset about that, which meant that when he lost to Kambosos, I was quite happy. And it does seem that Kambosos is prepared to take on all challenges and is prepared to fight anybody. And the fans have said they want Kambosos versus Loma. And I don't think Loma will have an issue going to Australia. And I don't think Kambosos will have an issue taking on Lomachenko. So that is one of the fights I'm most excited about for 2022, and I really hope it happens, and I'm sure that it will. Teofimo Lopez versus, not Teofimo, sorry, George Kambosos Jr. versus Vasily Lomachenko for the, for all the belts. There is, of course, Devin Haney, who is also in line to fight Kambosos, and that would be for the undisputed championship. Because the WBC has once again complicated things with the franchise champion situation. Look, I don't want to turn this into a WBC bashing discussion, but like, they really are like the most problematic of the federations, organizations. I mean, besides the franchise champion bullshit, and now the Dillian White issue, like, what are they doing? Like, it's just, it makes no sense. Yeah. Besides that, so yes, yeah, I mean, I love going back, going back to the Lopez versus Lomachenko. That was an amazing fight. I loved that fight. I loved how aggressive Teofimo was. I loved how he came out and he didn't let Loma settle in. And yeah, Lomachenko just took a little bit too long to find his rhythm. Could be inactivity, could be the injury, could be whatever. But by the time he put his foot on the gas and started taking the fight to Lopez, it was actually too late. And yeah, that was one of the biggest upsets of 2021. Actually, one of the biggest upsets ever, because I still believe that Lomachenko is unmatched. Like, he is like next level, and he came back and he showed why, he deserved the rematch, and he came back and he showed why why the loss was such an upset. And I'm looking forward to seeing Lomachenko in I mean, just skipping again to Loma versus Comey, which happened now recently. I mean, that was a flawless performance. That was vintage Loma. That was Loma at his like absolute most savage. And well done to Richard Comey for surviving and putting on the great fight that he did. But yeah, I think one of the highlights of 2021 would be Lomachenko asking Comey's corner, if they aren't going to stop the fight because the fight is taking so much punishment. And credit to the corner and credit to Comey for not throwing in the towel and for continuing to fight. That definitely was a highlight of 2021. So yeah, Other highlights, I mean, you can't talk about boxing in 2021 without talking about Canelo. And I feel like Canelo and Loma are sort of on that same level where no one is going to beat them unless they beat themselves. And unfortunately for Loma, that happened because of the injury that he fought with. And but Canelo hasn't had any injury problems, and Canelo's just steamrolled through everybody. Canelo is undoubtedly pound for pound number one at this point. I mean, I don't see anybody in any weight division 1 above or 10 below that can take on Canelo. The only issues I see is if Canelo sort of decides he wants to go all the way up to cruiserweight or heavyweight. He might have some issues and he might have some problems just because of size. But the way the man's been fighting and the way the man's been going about his business, if he decides that's what he wants to do, I'm sure he can put on the size and put in the work to actually be a proper real contender in those weight divisions. I mean, it seems ridiculous to say it now, but the idea of Canelo versus Usyk is not completely out of the realm of possibility. Very far-fetched and very unlikely, but not completely impossible. More likely though is the idea that Canelo wants to move up and become cruiserweight world champion. Now again, this is for a WBC belt, and again, people aren't too happy about it, and that's understandable because there are fighters at light heavyweight and super middleweight that Canelo hasn't faced, and that people are saying Canelo is ducking by moving up to cruiserweight and taking on a relatively unknown like Makabu. But it's for a belt, it's for a WBC title. So I mean, if that's what Canelo wants to do, you can't fault that and say he's ducking other fighters. He's moving up to a new bigger weight class to become a world champion. Again, Canelo's gonna do what Canelo's gonna do, and I agree with Eddie Hearn when he says that what we all hope to see is we hope to see Canelo become undisputed at 175, which he very well can do. I don't think that that's beyond the realm of possibility for him at all. But again, he's had a year of tough fights, and he's on the right to decide what he wants to do. So let's say 2021, Canelo Alvarez has earned the right to fight whoever the hell he wants to in 2022, and if he wants to take on a relative unknown to become cruiserweight world champion, then so be it. I mean, I would watch that fight. I mean, I don't think there's anybody that Canelo can fight we wouldn't watch it. Even his yield rim mandatory, which I think for me was one of the most disappointing fights of 2021. Like, you know, I watched that and I'd watch it again. So yeah, so I mean, let's see, who else have we got besides Loma, Canelo? Usyk and Joshua are set for their rematch, and I will say that I wasn't surprised by the decision at the end of the Usyk versus Joshua fight. I thought the judges got it right. It was a close fight. It was a hell of a lot closer than it should have been. I think Joshua got his tactics completely wrong. But also, I think Usyk pulled the wool over everybody's eyes. I think Usyk came out and I think he held back against Chisora, and he held back in his other heavyweight fights, and actually went all out against Anthony Joshua. He deserves the win. He did what he needed to do. I was very surprised by the size that he put on and the fact that he could still move as well as he did after putting on that size. So, I mean, all respect and all props to Alexander Usyk. And yeah, like, definitely deserve that win. And let's get ready for the rematch. Again, I might be biased, but I think Anthony Joshua should quite easily win the rematch. And it's funny because Joshua seems to switch off when he needs to be switched on the most. And you know, we still don't know what happened with the Ruiz fight. We know there were things that were happening in the background that he refuses to talk about, and there were sort of other reasons why the fight went the way that it did. But I don't think it's the same with the Usyk fight. I think with the Usyk fight, like, he was actually just outboxed. He thought he could go and outbox Usyk. That's what he wanted to do. That's what his corner told him he can do, and you know, he couldn't. He got outboxed. He got beaten, and he couldn't change tactics when he needed to. So, I mean, it is what it is, and I just hope that he goes into the rematch with a new game plan and he gets all those belts back, which would then lead to the discussions about undisputed world heavyweight fight. Tyson Fury is one of my least favorite people in the world. You know, he's a phenomenal boxer. He's got an insane amount of natural ability. He puts in an insane amount of work when he wants to and when he's motivated, and he has He's put on an amazing few fights with Deontay Wilder to prove that he is, at this point, the number one heavyweight in the world. But I don't think Tyson Fury wants to fight Dillian White or Anthony Joshua. I think he beats Dillian White. Dillian White is a bit of an anomaly. He he's got heart, and he's got power, and he's got he's got that natural ability, but he is not on the same level as Joshua Usyk and Tyson Fury, and it's unfortunate, and that's probably part of the reason why the Fury-White negotiations have been the way that they have, because I believe both Dillian White and Tyson Fury know that that fight is a 50-50 fight, because styles make fights. And as much as I say Dillian White is not on Tyson Fury's level, he's got the power, and he could be awkward for Tyson Fury, and he could very well do what needs to be done and knock Tyson Fury out. And I think Tyson Fury knows that, but I think Dillian White also knows that he's not on Tyson Fury's level, and he wants to get paid as much as possible for this fight, because he might not win, and then who knows when he's going to get another shot at a world title. Because what should be happening is White and Fury should be fighting to settle the WBC title. Joshua and Usyk should have the rematch, and then the winners should fight each other. And the winners, I would bet, would be Joshua and Fury, and we would then see Joshua versus Fury for the undisputed world heavyweight title. But all of this is in 2022, and this is supposed to be a 2021 wrap up, and I'm sorry, I'm just out here walking and talking, and I've gone and gotten a little bit sidetracked. So back to 2021, and back to Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. So that for me was crazy. Both the Tyson Fury, not the second fight where Tyson Fury demolished Deontay Wilder, and Deontay Wilder came with every single excuse in the book that was pathetic and hilarious at the same time. And I've never been a Deontay Wilder fan, and that just left an extremely bad taste in, I think, everybody's mouth. So the third fight definitely settled everything, and Deontay Wilder got what he deserved, lost comprehensively, Tyson Fury put on an amazing performance. Well done. It definitely was like fight of the year contender, fight of the decade contender. It was an amazing fight. I mean, both of them put it all on the line and went all out to sort of do what they needed to do. So yeah, who knows what's next for Deontay Wilder? Deontay Wilder, Andy Ruiz, Joseph Parker, Derek Chisora, those guys are sort of all those guys are sort of all in the same bracket and in the same category. I don't remember now if I mentioned Dillian White in that group. Dillian White is, if I did mention him in that group, he's at the top of that group. If not, he's sort of the glue between that group and the top of the division, which would be Usyk, Joshua, and Fury. So that's, I forgot where I was. Oh yes, Deontay Wilder. Andy Ruiz seems to be making a comeback. His last fight was okay. I mean, I didn't watch it. I think I caught the highlights. Is what it is. He's a good boxer. Eddie Reynoso has transformed him from like an unmotivated, overweight fighter to, you know, someone who's putting in the work, getting himself in phenomenal shape, and yeah, he's done what he needs to do to make himself relevant again and put himself in contention. And now he's being spoken about as a potential opponent for Tyson Fury in March if Fury isn't fighting Dillian White. So good for him, you know, is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I'm not excited about an Andy Ruiz fight. I would be more excited about Andy Ruiz versus Deontay Wilder, or yeah, actually it's the only fight I want to see Andy Ruiz in, fight with Deontay, if Deontay is even still fighting. But what else? Okay, Derek Chisora. I love Dalboy. I love War Chisora, and I'm the last person on this planet that would sort of talk about somebody being too old to fight, but I think Chisora needs to sort of think about the wars that he's going into, and needs to think about his future in terms of, you know, his health and what state he's going to be in for his family when this is all over. His fight with Parker was absolutely phenomenal, both fights, and I 100% agree that you know, he still has a lot in the tank. He can still keep going for many years. I don't believe though that he should be going into wars with the top guys. I don't even think he should be a gatekeeper for up and coming prospects, because that's a very dangerous game to be playing. We've got guys like Johnny Fisher, you know, Alan Babbage, even, you know, Joe Joyce, who, you know, are starting to make a name for themselves and are young prospects who, you know, aren't top level like heavyweights at the moment, but who could definitely, you know, hurt Chisora. And I wouldn't want to see him in those fights. I loved seeing him against Parker. I loved the idea of him going over to America, him fighting, you know, Molina, him fighting Ortiz. Those are the type of fights that I would want to see Derek Chisora in. You know, let him make his money, put on big shows, but not get into dangerous wars and you know, sort of put himself at risk. So yeah, that's that. I've been rambling on for more than half an hour now. I'm coming to the end of my walk, so I'm going to sign off. And I don't know if anybody's still watching at this point. If you are, I love you so much. That's fantastic. Thank you. You know, share this video, comment, let me know what you think. Should I do videos sitting at my desk, or should I do videos while I'm out walking like this? Obviously I can't do it one of the days that I'm running, but yeah, if you're still here, I would appreciate the feedback, and I definitely will take it in. Any and all comments would be appreciated. And yeah, Happy New Year. Wish all of you everything of the best for 2022. I can't wait for all of the big fights. I can't wait to get back in the ring as well. And I hope everybody stays safe and healthy.